Welcome to the Golden Chair, a place where we try by all means to empower our Black brothers and sisters. We try by all means to show that the sky is the limit. We try by all means to show you the various sectors of the economy. We started several weeks ago, probably 2 months or 2.5 months ago, looking at the property sector, looked at the fuel retail sector, looked at the hotel sector last week. I think it was CTM the other week, etc. So this week we are lucky to have Ulondi Ngobo, who is our guest on the Golden Chair. We're really excited about what Ulondi is going to be empowering us with. I met Ulondi last year when we were doing a TEDx Gresham Place. She ministered, or she spoke very powerfully in that session. Welcome to the Golden Chair, Mamundobo.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kambule Ngiyabonga kakhulu. For inviting me. We met last year in October. It's been almost a year, and I'm very excited to be part of the Golden Chair.
Thank you.
It would have become fitting, especially just after the Women's Month.
That's correct. Thanks a lot, Londi. Our topic today is we'd like to look at the oceans economy. There's been a lot said about the oceans economy. Certain numbers have been flying around, hundreds of billions of rands, trillions of dollars around the world, etc. Several countries are taking advantage of the oceans economy. For us, typically, most Black people, our relationship between the ocean and us is going to the beach in December. I grew up in Pietermaritzburg. I go to the beach in December to swim a few minutes and then, and have fun on the beach on the 31st. But we're going to get into all that, this evening. So leave your questions. If you have any questions to Ulondi Ngobo, please drop them on the comment section. Please share the page, and we are really growing. We always now hitting the 20,000 views mark. Thanks to you for referring the page to other friends and telling them about the Golden Chair. We are here to empower you. It's all about empowerment, particularly with a very clear focus around Black economic empowerment. I'm really trying. I've got one slot in the month of October. I know clicks is obvious, it's a topical issue. I'm trying to get a few Black people who are going to come to the show to speak about the pharmaceutical industry. So I'm really trying to get people in that space. But today it's about the oceans economy. Londi, you are the first, female master dredger in the continent. Take us through the process of getting there. I don't even know what a master dredger is, what a master dredger does. Take us through. What did you study? What did you do? How did you move on to get such a great fit? And tell us what exactly do you do?
Okay, no, thank you. I'm glad you touched on the clicks phenomenon because, I rocked my hair proudly also today representing. So,
right.
So yes, it's been quite an interesting journey for me. So a dredge master, you're looking at a ship captain, but the type, the captain of a different kind of ship. So most people know cruise liners, they know ro-ro ships, which are for cars, container ships, which are for containers. I so happen to land into the role on a dredger, the kind of a ship called a dredger. But for me, it's been quite an interesting journey. The sense of being a Black female in a predominantly white man's world. Like you said, we pretty much are not associated much with the ocean. A Black man can't swim. So
Right.
So I am. I must share though that I'm very excited to see, and to witness Mzansi becoming slowly awoke about the oceans economy. And for me, I've been in the industry for 13 years.
Wow.
I've walked from seafaring to corporate, and now into entrepreneurship. And but starting maybe roughly on the seafaring side, I grew up in Claremont, and then Estengile, the high school that I went into, that I went to in 2002, they decided to introduce the subject in maritime studies. And we obviously didn't know what it was about. We just knew what it was about the ocean. So now take a subject, there's not even a single swimming pool around. A complete mood kill, but I had good maths and science, and that was the prerequisite. So I got into the subjects, and it grew, with me over the years. And then I did it at the Durban University of Technology, Maritime Studies. I was also lucky to be absorbed by a larger shipping company called Maersk at the time. I trained there to become a cadet. A cadet now is a trainee to aspiring to be a ship captain or a ship engineer. So I did that, the training, until I got enough requirements to get my first license. So and then furthermore you get the license. So I also got accumulated enough requirements to get my first license as a ship navigator. I then got into my second license as a dredge master or master port operations. But landing into the role of being Africa's first female dredge master was only because the company I was then working for hadn't assumed a female as a captain on their ships. And this was in 2014, but my career actually started long before then, 2008.
Right.
So they hadn't assumed a female as a captain on their ships. But otherwise, a few years later, I've moved into corporate as a maritime compliance manager. And then I later moved into various associations. I sit in and head various associations, and now as a director for War Maritime Experts Consulting and a founder for Global Maritime Youth.
Wow. We're going to talk a little bit more about your business. I'm quite interested to get to know what do you do, what role are you playing, how can you help others who want to get into the space, the role you're playing in the big companies, etc., etc. We're going to get to it a little bit later. But as we understand it, the shipping industry contributes 55 billion rands, to the South African economy. Give us an overview of the shipping industry as to what it entails from the front end to the back end, the entire value chain. We just want to get to understand it. Swimming is one of it, which we only do in December or in summer. But tell us more. What else is there? I see a few people fishing as well. I'm not a good fisher. I'm very impatient, so fishing is not for me. But what else is there? There must be a lot for us.
There is a lot.
55 billion rands.
There is a lot. Maybe let me just put it in. Let's call it, when you talk of value chain, let's call it maritime logistics.
Okay.
So imagine a warehouse in Joburg. Warehouse in Joburg, they stuff their commodity inside a container. So the value chain of maritime moves from that container, from that warehouse, and then it will be moved then by whether rail or truck into a harbor, right? But then the important thing is that the ship, ultimately, where Londi will be able to navigate, will not be a requirement if there wasn't a demand in export and import. So there's no shipping without cargo. So there's no Londi without commodity. Similarly, with passengers, there is no Londi without passengers. So we will call them commodity or cargo in this sense. Right. So once the ship is moved from road to rail, from whether rail or road to the harbor, it then gets to a harbor, a port, where we now define it as an inboard section, the inbound section. The inbound section is where your cargo is now being inspected by cargo inspectors to check on quality in that Mr. Kukemur or Mr. Mabaso has, whatever he has, asked for to be shipped is still intact before we get to the ship, before we get to ship it. So the quality checks will be checked as per the shipper, and then we moved on to the terminal. For South Africa, the largest terminal operators are then Transnet. So when we move, in the case of port terminals, we now allocate a slot for this container, move this container to the ship, right, to the designated ship. But behind all this are ship agents. The ship agents will then facilitate the export of this process in terms of documentation. The agent will represent your shipment and the ship owner until that cargo leaves Durban by ship. And then you will also get stakeholders like SARS, because SARS then needs to keep records for our country in terms of tonnage. Like how much tonnage are we exporting and importing as a country? That is why on the SONA you will also get such stats. And and they will also then facilitate tax, which is very important. So then from the cargo, then it moves to seafaring. Now, seafaring is where I play. The seafaring part is where then you will get the crew of the ship, the captain, the engineers, now moving this commodity out to the next country, and then the same process happens again. So when you talk of value chain, the maritime logistics of itself, imagine your cargo and how it's moved. In terms of maritime logistics, it's exactly that. And obviously there's more technical practices involved and technical occurrences that happen in between, but basically that's just it.
Wow. So it's basically, it's like a sea truck.
I love that. Oh, I love that. Actually, yes. You know, actually, right, because itilosi, they call it stimela samanzi.
So stimela samanzi. That's it. Wow, that's quite interesting. I believe in South Africa, I don't know, for whatever reason, you may be able to tell us, that we own very few cargo vessels, probably a couple of them. As I was doing my research, I think I saw a joint venture between a Chinese company and a local PE company. They registered the first one, I think, a few years ago. But I think we have a big problem. And yet we've got 300 million tons of seaborne cargo moving through our ports every year. Why are South African companies not investing in cargo vessel manufacturing?
It's a very good question, and everyone who wants to tap into the space would always ask, why don't we have our own ships? And for South Africa, our policies, particularly the maritime policies, haven't been ship owner friendly, if I may. And so in this regard, even if you wanted to own your ship, you would have to know if we actually do have tonnage to export, you know. So it's a very deep phenomenon, in a sense that now the Department of Transport, together with SAMSA, which is our authority as the maritime industry, have embarked in the pursuit to interrogate the issue. When you look into the supply versus the demand of tonnage, you will also find that South Africa exports most of the cargo than we do that of the imports. You will find countries like China importing a lot of our raw material. So we would send out our coal, and then China would obviously come back, let's say, use our steel as raw material and bring us cars. So when you see this, you realize that actually we export a lot than we import. So there is no balance to begin with. But furthermore, when you dig into tonnage ownership itself, you will realize that even the mines that give our raw material are not actually owned by South Africans. So why do you want to own a ship? Do you just want to be a transporter and support these activities when you don't have volume? So the first key then becomes on South Africa actually securing tonnage so that we can actually enter into this practice sober-minded. But with all of this and so much depth that is involved in tonnage ownership, or rather tonnage securing for South Africa, the Department of Transport launched back in 2017 a comprehensive maritime transport policy, the first of its kind. South Africa had not ever owned its own maritime policy. And this only came like 3 years ago.
Wow.
So now it's at a phase where we're now trying to slowly make it conducive for ship owners and slowly make it conducive for ship management. And then we gradually can make that progress in that regard. And, you know, we look at countries like Ethiopia, they have their own shipping line now, and you think to yourself, oh, but South Africa. Meanwhile, it's so much more in depth. And obviously South Africa is not sleeping at this, and having this policy itself will mean a great deal for South Africa. Also, because you mentioning ship manufacturing, what the department has done is to interrogate rather leisure ship manufacturing. So you will get small boats or you know, the ferries and you know, commodity boats, the small boats. Those now are starting to be manufactured in South Africa. But when you talk of real cargo, the large ones, not yet. But we're slowly making our way there. But in terms of ship building now, you will hear that come out more where skills development is concerned for the maritime space. But yeah, that's where we sit. And I think we're making good progress.
Yeah. If I may just explain, summarize what Ulondi has just said. If China is buying coal from a coal supplier, a mine in Gauteng or in Northwest, they take ownership of that coal from the time it moves from wherever, maybe from Rustenburg all the way to, or it may only be from the sea, but they then decide which cargo vessel to use. So we need, through a regulatory process, like government has started a few years ago, we need through a regulatory process to then have, you know, policies that are going to force them to give some low tonnage to the local people, so that it gives opportunities for local people to manufacture. Because otherwise there's no point of owning a truck if no one is going to, you know, is going to use your truck, of owning a taxi if no one, you're not going to get passengers, because you need passengers for you to be able. Likewise, you also need the cargo tonnage for you to be able to export stuff, because China will be using their own cargo ships in order to. That's quite interesting. I never actually, well, that's why we have experts like you on the golden chair. Thank you. Leave your comments. It's a very interesting discussion. Leave your comments. We've got Londi Ngobo, who is the first female dredge master in the continent of Africa. Black, white, green, yellow, purple, it doesn't matter. She's not the first black. She's the first female, irrespective of any color. We're really honored to have you. I'm learning a lot, Londi, this evening. Now, leave your comments there. Should love to answer your comments. Please share the page and share the conversation so that your friends can see the quality of the conversations that we have on the Golden Chair. My next question is, according to the NDP, the National Development Plan, it wants to increase the blue oceans economy, obviously from the 55 billion rands, which is the contribution to our GDP, to about 170, 180 billion rands by 2033, which is not far. Within the next 10, 12 years, we will be 2033. It's not very far. So that's about 3 times. In your view, can we achieve this? How can we achieve this? What do we need to do as a country, to be able to achieve? Whether it's not about the NDP, how do we increase it? Whether we increase it 5 times, 10 times, or even 20%, but we need to increase it.
So I must commend you for the research that you do for your guests, honestly, and thank you. So the National Development Plan gave birth, or rather adopted Operation Phagisa, and everyone is like, we all aware of Operation Phagisa, and we all have the, or rather, the idea that it holds a deep wallet, but in support of what is already in place. The Operation Phagisa is meant to drive just this. According to Londi, I don't know how it can be achieved, but for the plans that are already in place, or rather being initiated and implemented, I think that we're well on our way.
Right.
2033, maybe not so feasible, but we're well on our way. You will get initiatives under the Operation Phagisa, like the offshore oil and gas focus area. That initiative is under the Department of Mineral and Resources Development. Then the good thing is that in zooming into the blue economy, it was splitted amongst departments. And I think that it was a wise move to split the load rather than focus it on just the one. So maybe, just maybe 2033, may be feasible. I don't know. But when you look at this being moved at the Department of Mineral Resources, you will also see that initiatives like aquaculture, that was moved into the Department of Agriculture and Forestry.
That's right.
And fisheries. Now, this space has been booming and amazing, particularly for women, as much as women still don't play majorly, but it's been just quite an interest, you know, from the rural areas to urban areas. Fishing is now becoming quite an interest. And you're getting short courses, you're getting females, like I have a friend called Captain Taboshe. Captain Tembela Taboshe is in the fishing industry as a captain, and it's just, even for me, I haven't been in any fishing ship, but it's just a breath of fresh air. Wow. Because you would only imagine men going fishing, and you don't know the economy behind men going fishing. Meanwhile, it can drive a major revenue to our shores. Then you will also look at initiatives like marine protection services and ocean governance. When you think of governance, you would imagine that the ocean surely must have some sort of governance, right. You know. But South Africa lagged majorly in this kind of governance in itself, and so that has been moved now onto. I'm trying to remember the department that it was moved into. I'm failing to remember the department, but yeah, marine protection and ocean governance is also part of it. Then you would look into the coastal marine and marine tourism.
Right.
We don't have our cruise liners, but you do have initiatives under the cruise services that are slowly driving it. So by the time we're able to even own our ships, we should be able to even, you know, look into marine tourism. The Department of Tourism is leading this one. Then you look into the small harbor development. The small harbor development is exciting because we have these inland waters that we have, like Vaal River. You will look at so many dams that we have. So much could happen in those spaces. Like, you don't even have to you don't even have to come to Durban if you have, let's say, a yacht in Vaal, or let's say a recreational area in Mfolozi Dam with a nice boat and all of those things. So South Africa is now taking the initiative to own our inland waters without even zooming into just what we see, which is just the ocean, your big harbors. So if we play also in small harbor development, imagine what would that bring to South Africa? If you have your own harbor in Umfolozi, that means you will have a harbor master, you will have a ship captain or a skipper on that boat, you will have gatekeepers in that area, you will have professionals within the space making their own small harbor, and that is intense, crazy job creation for South Africa. Wow. That is revenue galore for South Africa. So in capitalizing in what we have, those are the initiatives in place. South Africa is well in their way, but in putting all of these, I'm sorry, did you have a question?
No, continue.
In putting all of these, they also put now the enablers. Okay, the enablers. So the enablers now obviously need the skills, the skills development and capacity building. These enablers now will then say, small harbor development, what do we need? Let's start captivating.
Right.
Research and technology, what do we need? Let's start captivating. So we have the two enablers under the PAGISA, which is skills and development, under the higher education, the Department of Higher Education. And then the research one is under the Department of Science and Technology. We're well on our way. You can see the big number and nothing to show. But these have been split amongst different kinds of departments. Although it would be good to have one ministry overseeing the implementation of them successfully.
Right.
Otherwise, if it's just the one wing taking care of this, who holds these departments accountable?
Right.
Yeah.
Just a follow-up question, Londi, based on the small harbor development. It's actually quite exciting. I didn't know about it. Thanks. I mean, we're learning so much. I'm sure there are a lot of other viewers who are learning something new this evening. The small harbor development, let's take, Midma Dam. Is it typically something where you're looking at recreational facilities, leisure facilities? Is there any space? Because we've seen other cities around the world where there's even transportation, internal transportation of goods. Is there a possibility of, of internal transportation of cargo within the different cities?
Most certainly. I know, okay, you're making an example with just the Midma Dam.
Yeah.
There's throughout South Africa, I think PAGISA has found over, is it 27 or 18 small harbors that potentially could be developed in full capacity as small harbors. So when you look into that, then you can zoom into the small harbor feasibility in terms of the surroundings and the geographic aspects of that harbor in particular. So different harbors will feed different services, different harbors will feed different needs. So then we can move on, and this is managed by the Department of Public Works. So the Department of Public Works is in charge of the small harbor development. When you look into this, you will then zoom into, okay, we are in Midma. What do we have? We have A, B, and C. Let's work on this. Let's work on that. Holistically, it can't be said what shipment can be done where. Yeah. But when we get to the feasibility side of things, then we can say, okay, this is what is the demand for this area, and then build accordingly.
This is quite exciting. Yeah, no, it will be quite exciting to see it.
Just imagine
taking shape. Well, we're learning so much. I'm sure there are other viewers who are learning a lot. Leave your questions for Ulondi Ngobo to be able to, to answer your questions. We are lucky on our studio tonight. We've got the first female dredge master. I keep saying again, doesn't matter of any race, black, Indian, colored, white. She is the first female in the entire continent, out of 1.2, 1.3 billion people in the continent. She was the first one to be the dredge master. So we're really lucky to have you. Where do you think the real future lies with the African oceans economy, Londi? Where do you see the direction? Where do you see it going over the next so many years?
I like that you say Londi, because this is just a personal perception perspective.
Right. Yeah.
I think for us, I mean, we have entrepreneurs, we have the youth that is so expectant. We have, I think that our main participation should be on the development of the now African continental free trade. Mm-hmm. When you think of the commodities that we have, you must imagine how little we own, hence an extreme export as opposed to the imports, like I explained with China, Yeah. So I think that for us, we need to be able to open up the space to be empowered instead of empowering other countries. Mm. So when you look at this stage, South Africa is pretty much a playground. a playground for just transshipment. And by transshipment, I mean ship number one will take a container in Singapore and come and put it in SA, Durban, Harbor. But this container is still going to be taken by ship number two coming from Yantian, and they will take this container just because that ship is not going to Cape Town, and they will take it from here and take it to Malaysia. So we're just entertaining this this movement of cargo. We need to move from being a playground to rather owning our own commodities and then able to feed into the African continental free trade. I think that owning a coastal shipment, we can't be encouraging this participation. We need volume, and we need to be intentional in these volumes. So in building all of this, it's saying, what do we have and what does Ghana need? But if Ghana is taking it from China, then what can South Africa do to captivate this skill so that Ghana will feed off us? And then we can feed into, the African playground. And maybe in future, we can say, hey, guys, we don't need you.
That's right.
It's right. Yeah. We're okay in Mzansi. It's okay, But right now we can't. We don't sit at that level. We're not that spoiled. We're not spoiled for choice. For now, we pretty much rely on other countries, and
and
our participation in African free trade.
That's quite amazing. So you basically, if I understand you, I'm not a politician, so I don't want to get into politics, but there's a very strong element of political economics that you're teaching us this evening. You are saying there's a very strong relationship or correlation between what government regulations or policy and the ocean's economy. So there has to be a lot of regulations that have got policies that we need to revise so that we can regulate the tonnage. I think your message this evening is we need to own the tonnage. Of the 300 million tons, we can stipulate. Remember, it's coming from our country or to our country. We can decide that 30% must be transported by our cargo, which will create demand. Because only if there is demand. There is demand, that's what you're saying. You're saying there is demand, but that demand must be regulated, that it must be, it's like saying we are a taxi association. We are locals from Claremont, and in Claremont, we want to use local people, 60% local people, but others are going to say, but they're coming from a Pine Town, or they're coming from a Waybank to Claremont. No, it doesn't matter. We also want taxis from Claremont to also pick people from Waybank so that they go back to transport people. So we are basically forcing, as a taxi association, people, we are saying, these are my people. They come from here, they're living here. That's what you're saying. So I think I hear you urging government to take decisions at a policy level so that we can regulate this 300 million tons. But you're basically also saying there's a very strong Africa intra-trade that we can create so that we can create our own demand, not relying on the tonnage that is going throughout the world to the international waters. Wow, I've learned a lot. Thank you. Now, there's an entrepreneur out there, before we conclude, was saying these figures are too big. Nhlanhla and Londi, you're talking 55 billion rands, 170 billion rands. Look, I'm an executive, or I'm a senior manager, or I'm still a small entrepreneur, but I want to diversify into the oceans economy. Now, into this industry, basically, what are the potential 3 areas in the blue economy, as you call it, that one can consider? That one will have, an entry, low barriers to entry. That's the term I'm looking for. Low barriers to entry. In other words, obviously, I know building a cargo vessel will probably cost, a few million rands. So that's a high barrier to entry. because of the capital expenditure. But how can one enter this sector? Give us 3 areas which have got low barriers to entry.
Maybe more than 3, but
Okay.
I want to keep them as yeah. I mean, being in the industry for this long now,
Right.
there's certain things that I find, like if we were advocating enough, our brothers and sisters would know more about what the industry has to offer.
Right.
When you look at, for me, collaboration is everything. We have my brothers now who now own a shipping, a bunkering company in Durban. Linson Nambi is the name of the company. Durand was in ship urgency, and Kutso was in finance. These expertise, you wouldn't have imagined to collaborate them so they can own this company,
Right.
bunkering company. So collaboration is key. We don't have to be all experts in the space so that we can put our foot inside the space. But in terms of low-hanging fruits, I've seen certain things that are so easy, like ship chandling. When you look at ship chandling, you look at generic stores supply. You look at, now the ship is coming.
Ship chandling? Sorry.
Ship chandling, okay. So that's just generic store supply. So when you look at a ship in Durban coming from China, this ship will need bolts and nuts. This ship will need food. This ship will need blankets, anything, any stores that a ship will require in order to be sustained for yet another 6 months out there. I mean, as seafarers, we go away for a long time, so the ship becomes our home. In every single port that we get to, we replenish, and we get new stores, we get new stuff, so we can have a comfortable stay on board the ship again. So ship chandling is pretty much just sharing or offering the ships with generic space, generic supplies. Low-hanging fruits, you're looking at crew transportation. On the ship, when I finished my 3 months or 4 months on board the ship, and then I land into, or the ship is in Hong Kong and I'm meant to come back to South Africa, I will be transported by a shipping crewing, a crew transportation company. So it's just essentially just taking this captain and taking this captain to transporting them to the airport, making sure that when he gets to South Africa, he will be escorted by A, B, and C. We get a lot of crew signing off or coming off the ship in Durban. And who takes them to the airport?
That's right.
Certain things like that. And those are the activities that don't even need technical skills. When you look at maritime security, a security company with maritime expertise, something so simple as when the ship is alongside in Durban, in Port Elizabeth, they need someone to guard the gangway of the ship and make sure that there's no trespassing, and make sure that we don't have stowaways. Stowaways are those people that take chances jumping on the ship and then wanting to go to another country, So we have those. A security company, that is basically, just another entry, another low-hanging one, accommodation. How many, there's a lot of shipping delays that happen due to weather, due to so many things that happen in shipping. There's a lot of delay. You spend half your time waiting for something. So when you move into like a hotel, for instance, and this is probably for people in property, if you look into hotels, a hotel will still charge, say, for instance, 3,000 Rand, 5,000 Rand for a stay. Meanwhile, this crew member was meant to have left South Africa probably 5 days ago.
Yeah.
So that is becoming expensive for shipping companies. So B&Bs that can come in much cheaper for shipping companies are, I don't even, I'm out of words,
I get your point. Something for 800 Rand a night, comfortable stay.
These customized fees, can then say, no, don't worry, I understand you, my client. He can stay for 800 rand for a night instead of 3,000 rand. So those things, hotels or larger properties are not willing to compromise. What trucking? You look into trucking. That's maritime logistics to the core.
Yeah.
You know, trucking. That's a very low hanging one. Also, doesn't need any technicals. So you asked for 3. I think I gave you how much more. Yeah. But yeah, that's essentially. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. No. Now you've actually given me quite a lot. Just the first one was ship shingling. Eh? What can you? How does one get in there to go and sell the blankets, the food? You know, is there some tender process through Transnet or NPA or?
So a ship chandler we have the authority. So any company within our space or within the field is governed or guided by the authority, South African Maritime Safety Authority.
Yeah.
They know what is required for any company to play, because then you need to put certain things into place, culture, you need to put regulations into place, you need certain licenses and all of that. But for all of those things, not really easy, not really hard to find. It's only a matter of knowing what boxes to tick and then being able to knock on those doors. It's there. It's not even, and it's not even major of competition. It's you can't have enough of ship chandlers, because we have, like you've mentioned, that we have lots of ships coming in and out of our harbors. And furthermore, when you talk of a global, of an African scale, it's beyond even the margins that we can think of. Wow. So it's only a matter of seeking help from the authority. What do I need to become a ship chandler? You tick the boxes, you're well on your way, and then striking that. Because then the shipping company will then give to the agent. The agent will say, I have these ship chandlers. Here are the quotations. And then you get your ship. You supply, you know, it's only a matter of just seeking that information so that you can comply.
Yeah. Wow, Londi, we've learned so much from you this evening. You know, I wish I could just let you go on and on and on, but we try and keep our show to be 45 minutes. The last 2 minutes, 3 minutes tops. I'm aware that you are working for Transnet, and a few months ago you left the formal employ, and you're now running your own business and sitting on a few boards. Now, tell us about your business. What services do you offer? There could be potentially people, big companies watching, or executives watching, or people who want to enter the space. What services do you offer, and at what level are you offering those services?
So, thank you so much. Thanks. I appreciate that question. So, War Maritime Expert, in my observation, within the 13 years I've spent in the industry, like I said, I've moved from seafaring to corporate and now entrepreneurship. So, for me, not seeing females being empowered in the space, and like, you know, there's only 2% of females, like I shared on the TED Talk, there's only 2% of females in the maritime space out there at sea. It was a no-brainer for me that I needed to advocate in decision-making platforms. And so coming in empowering women as War Maritime Expert consulting in the shipping space, I'm playing in a white man's playground. You know, and for me to enter into the space in advocacy for the maritime space, in project management in the maritime space, in compliance, legal, check, so many, because the idea is to bring the sisters that are already in the space but don't have decision-making voices, or rather don't have decision-making inputs within the maritime space. The idea is to advocate and elevate women. And that's the space I play in any maritime activity within South African waters.
Wow.
For me, it didn't sit well to just keep being first. And that's what I shared with my TED Talk also. Global Maritime Youth then became a personal project of mine. I couldn't bottle kids on Facebook DMing saying, Sis Londi, we want to be like you. And then for me to sit and not do anything. A Black child cannot be said, or rather associated with that cannot swim. So captivating pure love for the ocean, for a child in Claremont, 6 years, who doesn't have a swimming pool, they still need to know that there is an ocean and there's a lifestyle out there which is almost similar to this of the ground. There's no more jobs out here. There's no more jobs on land. So we need to multiply out at sea. And that is what my Global Maritime Youth Foundation is for, because I'm captivating pure love. You don't have to find a job in maritime, but just know that there is an ocean out there, and it has so much to offer for a Black child. So War Maritime Experts Consulting, full-on experts in maritime space as women, and then the Global Maritime Youth is more of a personal initiative for the youth to multiply. The Black mermaids, like the youth likes to call me.
Yeah. Wow. I love your passion. I could, you just, when you're speaking about those two companies, you just, I mean, we could see the passion, you put the emotions onto it. And no, it's amazing. We really know, we wish you the best, but we know for sure that you are going to be successful. And I know COVID delayed your plans. Don't worry. You still have another 40 years of consulting. So don't worry about the 6 months. The 6 months was just a delay, but you're not denied, So that I know you're going to become very successful. We definitely want to see you grow, and we wish you all the best on the golden chair, and we are fully behind you. And as you add more services, we'll screen them here and say, well, remember, if you need your services. But I see what you want to do. You basically are saying you want to transform the industry and facilitate one for the Black child because we are basically saying, your statement is saying, a child, say Claremont, say Alexandra, who wants to become a Black mermaid like you, but the problem is the industry is still very much white male dominated, and the space is still closed, and those opportunities, unless someone takes confronts the industry and takes the baton and say, let me do something, transform the industry, those 6-year-olds will never get inside. So someone has got to do something, and they're basically saying, you are that one person, and we are hoping others are going to join you so that many is better than one. But we really love your passion. We saw it. We thank you for coming to the Golden Chair. We really appreciate the great work that you're doing. Keep up the great work, and may the good Lord bless you. May the Lord be with you and your family and all that you do. We speak a blessing in all of Wenzayo. May everything that you touch indeed turn into gold. Your final word, if you've got any that you'd like to say to our viewers.
Thank you so much. You have no idea how much that means to me. I want to say that while we advocate for land compensation, while we fight for the land, I wanted to say it so perfectly. I wanted to say it perfectly, but the words ran out.
Land reform.
While we fight for our land, I really, really hope that we don't forget as South Africans that the ocean is also available and accessible to us, and it is bearing fruit. Wow. So in our fights, let us not be channeled into the one fight. Let us divide, multiply, divide, and conquer. And that's basically it for me.
Yo, thanks a lot, Londi. May the good Lord be with you.
Thank you.
Thank you.